Welcome back. Danielle and I have got a pretty awesome topic we're going to talk about today. It's how to survive without dairy. We both know how difficult even the idea of giving up dairy is, because dairy used to be such a big part of my life, and you said the same thing.
Yeah.
And so we're going to kind of talk about why we want to give up dairy in the first place. There's a lot of science behind it, and we're going to link to all the science. We're just going to tell you what the science tells us. And Danielle's got some amazing recipes that we're going to demonstrate how you actually survive without dairy. So this is an amazing episode. You got to watch this one. Okay, now is the part of the episode that you've been waiting for, because when we're talking about True 5 nutrition, we're actually talking about putting good things in our body. And Danielle's got some amazing recipes that are dairy replacements. And so let's just jump into that, because it's not just we're eliminating something and putting in an alternative, but these are actually things that are delicious and that when you eat them, it actually helps your body. So let's dive in.
Yeah. I want to tell you a little bit about when my family decided to go whole food plant-based. We were getting rid of dairy, and I looked in my fridge and I thought, what am I gonna do with this? Because in the door of my refrigerator, I'm not kidding you, like as big as this picture, this big giant container from Costco of Parmesan cheese. I thought, what are we gonna do with this? What am I gonna use instead? My kids, we do spaghetti all the time, and I thought, surely I can make spaghetti plant-based. I'm gonna keep spaghetti in the rotation. What are we gonna do? We gotta have Parmesan to go on top of that. So I turned to the internet, and there are so many awesome, they call it faux Parmesan or cheesy sprinkle, all these different replacements that are totally plant-based that you can still enjoy to have a little bit boost of flavor and texture on stuff like spaghetti. My family loves this, it's delicious, and we sprinkle it on a lot of things. I'm gonna show you how to make this. I've got some cashews here, but you can use walnuts, almonds, sunflower seeds, whatever you've got on hand, any kind of nut. You could do a combination of nuts to kind of add some more depth to the flavor, whatever you want to do. I've got cashews here. My kids have a sweet tooth, so we like the sweetness of cashews. And the magic ingredient with a recipe like this, and you'll see this really commonly with cheese replacement type recipes, is nutritional yeast. This is not the type of active yeast that you use in bread recipes. This is not brewer's yeast, this is nutritional yeast. You can see it's yellow, so it will give kind of that color, but it also has a pretty cheesy flavor to it. And it's worth a try. I know it's a new ingredient, but you can find it at your health food store. You can order it online. You can sometimes find it in your bulk bins or the natural food aisle in your normal grocery store. You can find it in your natural food aisle in your local grocery store too. So go find some nutritional yeast and try this recipe out. I am going to just whip all of this up in my blender. High-speed blender is what I have. It's a Vitamix. But if I haven't tried this in other blenders, but I bet it would work just fine. You just want to grind it up into that fine Parmesan texture that you're used to. This has a really great flavor profile too. I think you're gonna like it. Okay, now what we're gonna look for is to go just on low speed for a minute to get it going, and then I'm gonna whip it up to a high speed really fast because I want to just start kicking this around. I do not want it to get bogged down and turn into a paste. We're not making cashew butter here. We want it to just kind of turn into this nice ground texture. Okay, so there's still some stuff around the edge that I want to work in, but I'm not gonna sit there and let the motor do that because again, we don't want this to get all gummed up. This is a high-speed blender. It creates heat. We do not want it to turn into goo. So we just give it a shake and we go again. And maybe one more time, and this is looking lovely. This is looking good. Okay, it's really that simple. It smells delicious. just like that. It's just a really nice fine texture. You can get it more crumbly if you want to blend it less. You can play with this. But this is a great option to replace the Parmesan cheese. You can still kind of have that boost of flavor and something that's familiar and still delicious. Another thing that we knew that we needed to replace after we decided to go whole food plant-based, opened up our fridge, and there's the sour cream. We love taco night. That is a weekly occurrence, if not more, in our house. So sour cream was a big one that we need to figure out what to use instead. Well, you can make a cashew cream with a little bit of acid, a little bit of lemon juice, and it tastes just like sour cream. And it's whole food, plant-based. It's good for you. I want to show you what this looks like a little bit of using cashews to make a sauce. When I first heard about this, I thought, cashews is a nut, it's crunchy. How do you turn that into a sauce? I thought it was crazy. So I want to show you what that's like. So here's our raw, these are not roasted, they're not salted, just cashew pieces. And they're cashews, what you're familiar with. So the magic of turning cashews into sauce is just soaking them in water. Usually overnight is best. The longer you soak them, the creamier and smoother your sauce is going to turn out. And you can kind of see they get kind of swollen and almost a little squishy and soft to the touch. And that is going to turn into a gorgeous, creamy sauce. So we don't need those. We're just going to get the cashews, garlic, salt, pepper, and that lemon juice and some water, and it's going to turn into a cream. It's like magic. You'll be amazed. And it's that easy. Okay, and we're going to just blend this until it is silky smooth. All right, with this high-speed blender, it throws everything around. So I'm just gonna scrape all this goodness down. I want all of this that's still kind of grainy to get into the rest of the sauce. Oh, it already smells good. You guys are missing out. When are they gonna come out with the smell-o-vision thing? Okay, so we've got as much of that down as I can stand to work with. And we'll get this going again. Okay, I wanna see how we're doing. It's still kind of chunky. If I can get it up to a higher speed, then I think we're gonna see this get nice and creamy. Again, the longer you soak your cashews, the more creamy this is gonna get. So just think ahead, get those in water and put it in the fridge overnight, and you're set. By the way, after you soak the cashews, go ahead and rinse them with clean water and then drain them. Keep working with this, I think 1 or 2 more times, and we'll be good. I'm moving the speed up slowly so that it doesn't just whip it all around too much. But now it's coming back down the sides, which is what we want to see. We want all of this processed through. There's such a small amount in there, you could double this so it'll churn better too. Okay. Yeah. Now it's creamy. I'm gonna call that good. It's still got a little bit of chunks in there. If I had this doubled, it would be churning in the blender better, and you can get it even smoother. So to your preference, you can play with that. Yeah, beautiful. So there you go, a nice sour cream sauce that you can use on taco night. You're set. If there's something I love more than ice cream, it was chocolate. So why not make a plant-based chocolate ice cream recipe, right? This will save your life if you feel like dairy is just impossible to let go of, especially the ice cream. This stuff is delicious, and I'll tell you what's so fun is to be able to just start chowing down on this stuff and guilt-free. It's like, I usually don't even associate a lot of guilt with the food I eat, but it's like, wow, I can like eat this and like call it healthy, right? This is awesome. So I hope you like this. This is a chocolate peanut butter banana ice cream. So we've got frozen bananas. Let's talk about this for a minute. Buy lots of bananas, okay? If you're switching over to this type of lifestyle, this whole food plant-based approach, you're gonna love having bananas in your house so that you can make more of this. And whenever they start to get tons and tons of spots on the side, not quite like black and mushy that you would use in banana bread yet, but just plenty of spots, that is ice cream bananas right there, okay? So you peel them, you can break them with your hands and throw them in a Ziploc bag and keep them in the freezer. And then you pull it out and you can make ice cream. We do this all the time at home. This is what we do for birthdays. We make our own ice cream out of bananas. I know it sounds weird, but just try it. And you can do things like add chocolate and peanut butter to kind of cover that banana flavor if you're not so much of a banana fan. I know I wasn't. I was the kid that would like shun all banana flavored candy, like those Laffy Taffy banana flavored, ew. But I love this ice cream, so I think you will like it. So I've got my frozen bananas. Now I let these thaw out quite a bit. I know they don't look super appetizing because of it, but that will make it easier on my blender. This is gonna pretty much create kind of a soft serve ice cream. You can put it in the freezer after we're done making it and put it in there for about 2 hours, and then it should just kind of scoop up like real ice cream. Peanut butter. If you don't know much about buying peanut butter, like the healthiest peanut butter that you can get is one that says on the ingredients, there's like 2 or 3 ingredients. Peanuts and maybe a little bit of salt, I think is what my peanut butter says. Go to your cupboard if you haven't made this switch yet and just count how many ingredients are on your typical jar of peanut butter. Try to switch over to more of a natural peanut butter. You will, it's good for you, okay? And it tastes great. Okay, we've got a little pinch of salt. We've got vanilla. I find this is key for really kind of masking that strong banana flavor, is having plenty of vanilla in there. With the softened bananas, I'm not sure how much milk I'm really gonna need. I'm kind of curious to just see how this does. Sometimes I put them in straight in from the freezer and they are really rock hard and my blender kind of struggles a little bit and my husband looks at me like, do you know how much we paid for that blender? Do not kill that thing. So softening it is a good idea if you don't have a high-speed blender or if you're making your husband nervous. Okay, I'm gonna add just a little bit, but this is already churning really well. These bananas were thawed out for about an hour. So we still want it thick, right? We want a soft serve ice cream consistency. We don't want smoothie, right? You could make a chocolate milkshake though. Yum. Okay. Yeah, that's gorgeous. Yum, get me a bowl or an ice cream cone. We're ready to roll on this. So this is just a nice soft serve consistency. If I had let the bananas thaw out less, I would have had kind of a more firm. Now I've tried this. I want to know how much banana you're getting or how much peanut butter or chocolate. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I can definitely taste the banana, but this is my kind of dessert.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, that's what we want to hear. Okay, so give this a try. Oh, he took it. Hey, it's okay. There's plenty more. Another thing, if you have kids or if you are young-hearted, if you have popsicle molds, this stuff is perfect. If you don't eat it all right now, put it in those popsicle molds and then you have fudge-sicles and they're good for you. It's awesome. So give it a try. Let us know what you think. I'm ready to roll to make some creamy, whole food plant-based Alfredo. I know what you're thinking. If you've ever made Alfredo before, it basically calls for butter and heavy cream. I know because I made this really regularly for my family. Like every other week we would make, before we went plant-based, we would make Alfredo and it was high fat, high dairy, not good for you, but super delicious. So I was pretty excited to find a plant-based replacement for this. And again, it's just one you can feel good about and it's so delicious. You're gonna love it. We're gonna start out with sauteing some onion. And remember, we do not use oil around here. So I just have a little bit of water to water saute these onions. I don't want them to burn. So we're gonna hang out with these onions until they get nice and soft. And then we'll throw the garlic in. We're gonna just keep layering this. Eventually we're gonna cook up this cauliflower all in here with some vegetable broth and get that all nice and soft. And then that part with a few other flavorings and some cashews to make it really creamy goes in the blender and that turns into our sauce. So, and then I've got some whole wheat linguine pasta that we're gonna cook up. This is, your family will not even believe that this is dairy free. If you've never water sauteed before, the key to this is keeping it just a little wet with the water so that it doesn't stick, and also just keeping it moving. So a combination of those two things, we just don't want it to burn. Pretty awesome that you don't need oil. You don't need all of those extra concentrated calories. Our arteries will thank us too. I'm just waiting for these to kind of get soft, and they start to turn a little translucent. You can almost start to see through them a little bit. That's how you know that we're getting somewhere. And burned garlic is not fun. So we're just gonna keep that garlic in there for about 30 seconds. So we want these onions to be mostly where we want them, nice and soft. You see that little splash of water blasted me this whole time, and it's still plenty moist. The cool thing that you don't realize when you're so used to sauteing everything with oil is that these vegetables, they actually render their own liquid. So we really don't have to stress about it much. It takes care of itself. These are starting to get nice and fragrant. We're starting to get more translucent. We're getting close. The pan is starting to get a little drier, a little hotter. At this point, I could add more liquid, or I can just turn the heat down a bit. I know it's scary at first to go without oil, but dive in, give it a try. You'll get used to working with it. Yeah, see, just that little splash of water really makes a difference. Okay, those are looking really nice. I'm gonna go ahead and add my garlic here. Again, I'm gonna keep this moving, especially now that I've got the garlic in, so that we do not scorch that. This is where the flavor profile is really built. This is the foundation of that awesome wow flavor that we're gonna get in the finished product here. It is worth the time. Ooh, I can smell the garlic, it's lovely. A little tip here, I don't buy fresh garlic anymore. I have 4 little kids running around usually when I'm cooking dinner at home. And so I don't really have time or energy to peel and mince garlic. So at my grocery store, I can find small or large jars of minced garlic. I just always turn that bottle over and make sure it's not packed in oil. As long as it's packed in water, wow, somebody else did all that work for me. This is a way to still get awesome flavor without all the extra time that goes into preparing it. This is looking gorgeous. Our next step is to add our cauliflower. This was frozen cauliflower. It's about 3 cups. You can do fresh cauliflower too. Remember, all of this is going in the blender. So this has been defrosted. It's kind of soft and mushy, but I don't care because it's all gonna end up in this sauce, right? So we're gonna do that. We're gonna add our vegetable broth, and we are going to let this cook covered. We even want to get this maybe a little higher heat. And we're gonna let this sit until the cauliflower gets really tender and ready to go in the blender. The cauliflower is all soft. I've got my pasta going. We're going to transfer this over to the blender and finish our sauce. So all of this is going into the blender. You can get this as soft as you want. And we want all this yummy garlic and onion in here. All right, so this is gonna be the base of our sauce. Did you ever think of pureeing cauliflower to turn it into sauce? Why not? So the thing that's gonna make it really flavorful, we've got the lemon juice. We're gonna add kind of some cheesy depth aspect to it with some nutritional yeast. And the finishing touch is really these soaked cashews. These have been soaked overnight. This is gonna make the sauce really creamy, but it's a whole food source of creaminess. It's not processed, it's not 100% fat like butter. It is just whole food goodness. I've come across a lot of Alfredo recipes before. I've tried several. Some of them are all cauliflower and no cashews. I even tried one that was all cashews, like 3 cups of cashews in here. That doesn't settle well with my stomach, nor my kids, or other people that I've talked to as well. Expensive, right? I'm fine using a little bit of cashews, but a whole sauce being used with that much cashews was not okay with me. So I kind of created this recipe to kind of put those 2 ideas together more rather than one or the other. So this I'm really, really happy with how it turns out. And that's all we need. I am gonna keep a little liquid handy just in case it's thicker than I want it, and we can always thin it out a little bit. We're just gonna let this go in the blender. Gotta have that. Okay. Okay, so this is thicker than I want it to be. I'm gonna just add a little bit of almond milk. Okay, we'll get a little more liquid in here. This is a really forgiving recipe. We just are going for the consistency that we want. So creamy. Okay, so I just put that on my smoothie setting. It starts out slow and then ramps up really high for quite a while, but it already looks delicious and I can't even smell it yet, but it looks nice and creamy in there. Okay, so let me show you what this, oh my goodness, you guys, this is gonna be so yummy. This is the consistency. Can you believe that? Just a nice creamy sauce. It's so flavorful. Try this, okay? So there you go. Okay, we're gonna get this plated. So on the pasta, I did about 2/3 or maybe like 3/4 of the package because this sauce makes about 6 servings worth, so I tried to shoot for 6 servings worth of pasta. So there you go. Alfredo, whole food plant-based, good for you. It loves you back. Okay, let's have Nate try some of this. He's never tried this before, but this is a family favorite at my house, so we'll see what Nate thinks.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah?
That's really good.
Okay.
I mean, and I like, I remember eating Alfredo at Olive Garden. I know what theirs tastes like. So I wouldn't say that this tastes to that level, but I would call this delicious, something that I would
make for your family.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And there's all sorts of things. Like as I'm tasting this, I'm like, man, I could probably do with more garlic, maybe a little more lemon.
Another comment on my comment. I don't feel like I'm sinning when I'm eating this either. Like when I ate it all, even when I wasn't eating whole food plant based, I knew that it was a 2,000 calorie meal.
Right. Yeah. That's what I love about all of these dairy replacements because it's guilt-free. It's like, wow, this really is good for me. I don't have to feel bad about it. It's awesome. So, yeah. So
this is great. This is the best non-dairy Alfredo I've had.
Okay, I'll take that. Awesome. Thanks for trying it.
Okay, so let's have you chime in, Danielle. Let's first define, when we say we're eliminating dairy, how do we survive without dairy? What are we talking about?
Dairy. Dairy is anything that comes from another mammal's milk. So most commonly we're talking about cow's milk, but we're talking about goat's milk and things that are kind of those fringe dairy products as well, and anything that comes from that milk. So
there's actually a lot
about it. There's tons, and you can get really detailed in the list, but yeah, let's list them off. So obviously just the straight cow's milk, cheese, ice cream, yogurt, butter, custard, cottage cheese, ricotta. I mean, there's so many different kinds of cheeses even. Did we miss any? So it's a lot, and that is really prevalent in our food environment right now. So it does seem a little overwhelming at first, but...
Yeah, I mean, another big part of it is restaurants. They typically will put cheese or cream or milk. It's included as an ingredient in so many foods that at first it does seem overwhelming.
Yeah.
So let's jump into the why. If we're going to do this, take on this challenge, why? What are some of the problems with dairy?
We could talk about this for hours, and that's part of why we linked all of those references in the description below. So please look into that yourself. We're just going to do the highlights. So just what is contained in dairy are some really problematic substances that are not meant for the human body. And we're just going to list them off, and I encourage you to look these up, and you'll hear about them in those videos linked below. Number one is estrogen. There is natural estrogen in that cow's milk because it's coming from a mother. It's a baby cow's breast milk. That's what it is. It's not added. That is naturally there, and it's more than what our bodies need. We don't need any extra hormones. We make everything that we need. Another one that's really problematic is casein, as well as IGF-1. Insulin-like growth factor 1 is what that is. Saturated fat and dietary cholesterol as well. Those should ring a bell. We know that those are problematic, and they are so prevalent in dairy products.
One thing that I'll mention on the casein is in many circles, fitness circles, casein is actually encouraged. So anyway, it's just when you dive into it, it's like, oh, that's what I was intentionally putting into. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really something to look into. It's something that you want to do your homework on and really tease out the details and decide for yourself what you want to do.
So if those are some of the problematic things in dairy, what are we talking about? What are the problems that these things cause?
Well, again, I could talk all day about this, of the details, and I teach this regularly. But we're talking about some serious things. We're talking about cancer. We're talking about heart disease, diabetes. It even affects fertility for both men and women. It can lead to a lot of problems with children's health. There's really strong studies linking it to autism, type 1 diabetes. Remember, that's something that we call child onset diabetes. It's actually linked to dairy, unfortunately. Even colic, constipation, these things that we worry about for our kids, and even SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. This is serious stuff. You've got kids, I have kids. These things really get my attention as a parent.
So this is a question that I'm going to ask for the sake of conversation. I know the answer. I've studied this as I touch my mic. I grew up, milk does a body good.
Right.
And I love the taste of cow's milk. I would get 2% and I would drink a full glass of it every day. And I'd have it on my cereal when I ate the sugary cereals. Why, and I know the answer, so the question is, why were we taught that milk is so good for us?
Oh, this is kind of a sad answer, but it's just a conflict of interest, really. If you really look into this, and it doesn't take much digging, there is an organization called the USDA, which is the United States Department of Agriculture. And the problem is that they have two jobs that are kind of in conflict with each other. Number one, they represent and support our agriculture, so our food producers, which in large part is the dairy industry. And they are, for some reason, also tasked with creating our dietary guidelines, which for me and most people that have learned this, that doesn't make a lot of sense. So it's their job to promote such things as dairy because Americans produce it, which is fine. But then it's their job also to tell us what is best for us to eat. In my opinion, I'd rather have maybe the National Institute of Health telling us what there is to eat. So unfortunately, there's an inherent conflict of interest there.
And I'm an entrepreneur. I love business. I love marketing. And if I were a dairy farmer, if I could get it into the public mind, any product that I was selling, that, hey, this is good, you need more of this. When I lived in England, their campaign was an egg a day. Yeah. And that's what they promoted. And it's a similar thing. That's a topic for another video. But if you've got it in your mind like I did, that milk is good for you, they've got to have so much milk so you can get calcium in your bones, which, by the way, the calcium that they add to milk that you drink, it doesn't actually make it to your bones like you think it does. So that's one thing that I've come to recognize is just because I'm taught that something is good, to really find where is that teaching coming from? Where was I taught this and what's the truth? And as I've dug deeper into real science and real studies, I've come to change my opinions on these things.
Me too.
So our purpose here is True 5 nutrition, meaning that we're not just eliminating things. It's not about avoiding this or avoiding that or avoiding that, but it's really getting a variety of all the good things that our body needs. So in the conversation of, don't you need dairy? Isn't dairy a food group? Don't you need calcium or vitamin D?
That is the question. That's the first thing that comes to mind for a lot of people that are introduced to this idea. Or when I tell people, we don't consume dairy, they're just like, wow, that's really extreme. And they do. They say, wow, you're eliminating an entire food group. Well, again, coming back to that True 5 nutrition, think about those 5 food groups that we subscribe to, and dairy's not on there. I jokingly tell my kids, I said, are you a baby cow? And they're like, no. And we kind of laugh about it, but it's really true. Cow's milk is meant for baby cows, and we are not baby cows. We don't need to grow from a 60-pound calf to a 400 cow, a 400-pound cow in that amount of time. So no, we don't need it, and it actually doesn't do the body much good. A lot of the nutrients that are attributed and touted around cow's milk, and that we've all heard, right? We all think, what do we think first? Calcium, protein, vitamin D, even riboflavin, and a few others. We think, oh, well, we feel good when we're drinking that milk. The really good news is that there's better sources of all of those nutrients in whole food plant-based nutrition. And so you can just kind of cut out the middleman or the middle cow, and you're not getting all of the baggage of all of those harmful substances along with it.
So as an added emphasis, to check out the links below, you'll see what we're talking about, that this isn't just stuff that's being made up here.
Yeah.
This is documented by many universities, many deep studies. Yeah, there's just with whole foods, when you get these nutrients from the whole foods, your body can actually use them a lot better. And a lot of times in the milk, they're actually just added in there so that they can say that, ooh, this milk is high in this. So
Right, exactly. So we don't need it.
now you've had a good introduction about how you can survive without dairy. We've seen some really good, delicious examples. We just chowed down on the Alfredo. I encourage you to comment below, because this is just the start of this conversation. It may be a new conversation for you. So let us know what questions you have down below, and what you thought about some of these things.
Yeah, we really want to hear from you of what other follow-up questions do you have? What's coming to your mind of, well, how can I live without whatever? Or how do I transition? If you have questions of how to actually put this into your lifestyle, we would love to make more follow-up videos to help support this change for you.